did love him. I do love him. I just can't. I just wasn't willing to do that anymore. The reason why I stayed so long was purely because of me and my commitment.
There's a lot of men interested in Robyn, and they were sort of trying to get around me and to her. I want to know that God has been my wingman with you and that nobody can take you.
Kody is a deadbeat dad. How are people not outraged that Christine has to take Kody to court to get child support? Have we moved the bar so low that unless you take a man-row court, he can just pretend the child doesn't exist? Men like this shouldn't be getting money from TLC or anything else. The dirtbag bought another house and walks away with the money. Get rid of him. What? I haven't seen a single person defending Kody's parenting here or elsewhere online. All anger should be directed at TLC for giving him a platform to abuse his family on a national level. We've got so much to dive into today, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into it. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Elena here, and welcome back to my channel Reality Nexus X. Kody's drama over the RV. Honestly, what was the big deal? Janelle hadn't lived with the family for, 8 months. He could have just said, "I'm not staying there while living in the RV," and I'm sure she would have been totally fine with it. But no, he acted like it was some kind of royal catastrophe. Classic Kody. He had this bizarre obsession with owning properties that could turn into rental cash cows, and somehow thought the money spent on that was his to use. Never mind that it was Janelle's money, not his. Watching those episodes again, it's clear that Kody had zero interest in actually building anything on Coyote Pass. He was more than happy in his 7-bedroom palace with his compliant, quiet, and ever-so-shy wife. As for Janelle, her decision to park herself in an RV on Coyote Pass, not her best move. The land wasn't even paid off, so there were probably legal issues with her sticking around and trying to build a casita. And don't you love how she didn't even stick around there long? Instead of buying a house, she rented apartments. If she just bought Christine's house when she moved, she could have sold it and made a nice profit. But no, she had to dig her heels in, and now look, she's got nothing to show for it. And poor Savannah, she had to live with her mom's questionable housing decisions. Talk about a bad situation. Oh, so everyone involved definitely needs to know about this, right? So, Robyn says she grew up in a polygamous family with multiple moms and siblings, which sounds interesting. But then, surprise, surprise, she clarifies that all her different moms didn't live in the same state. So basically, she never had to deal with the awkward high school moment where you try to explain why someone else's kids aren't actually your siblings. And her dads never had to deny her existence, because, guess what? There wasn't ever a case of 2 wives in the same state at the same time. Polygamy? Nah, not really. To me, it starts sounding more like her mom was the affair partner more than once. And here's another gem. Don't all the wives have to know about each other for it to actually be polygamy? I mean, how can you be married to 2 people unless you're committing bigamy? Sure, there's the whole spiritual marriage thing, but doesn't that still require all the wives to be in the know? I thought polygamy was supposed to be a family affair, done in a church with witnesses and everything. And then, when Robyn's mom visits, why didn't the other mom show up? Was there some kind of silent, unspoken rule that one of them was just not invited? And Robyn says her stepfather only publicly claimed her once his other wives came out. So let me get this straight. Robyn didn't know his other kids until later, and only developed relationships with them afterward. I guess that makes sense when she later offers one of his kids a nanny job. You know, building that close-knit polygamous family dynamic. Perfect. It's hard to trust anything Robyn says because, well, the woman has a habit of contradicting herself from season to season. What she says now, she'll likely flip on next week. So let's get to the facts, folks. Robyn's mom, she was 100% the other woman. It's not even up for debate. And let's not forget what the current AV prophet's daughter and her husband have confirmed. Both Robyn's biological dad and her stepdad Paul were involved in polygamy on the compound. Alice, Robyn's mom, lived there with Paul until he moved them out of state. But why? Maybe his first wife couldn't stand Alice, or maybe she just hated the whole polygamous lifestyle. I mean, Kody did throw out some pretty nasty comments in one of his interviews about how awful it would be if Paul had to spend eternity with his first wife, so that's a real clue. Now, there are people who grew up in the AUB and knew Robyn's family, people who are claiming her family was, in fact, polygamous. And not just any polygamous family, but a normal one. You know, like the everyday kind of polygamous family. I'm talking about NoTestoSelf44 on TikTok and YouTube. No links to back it up, but they're out there. Maybe Paul got a job offer in another state, and one wife was okay with moving, but the other, Robyn's mom, wasn't. Just like how Janelle didn't move with Kody and the others to Utah because she had a job and a routine she didn't want to abandon. It's all starting to make sense, right? Married once, divorced twice. How many people can proudly claim that? Not many, I guess. But seriously, Mary's come such a long way these last couple of seasons, hasn't she? I mean, talk about a glow-up in the respect department. She's really earned it, right? It's so heartwarming to see her surrounded by such genuine friends. You know, the kind of friends who actually show up and stick around through all the drama. Real friends, authentic friends, dare I say, loyal friends. And then there's Robyn, you know, the friend. But here's the real question. Did Mary really not see it coming? Or was she just playing along for the cameras? Maybe she thought playing nice would somehow win Kody back. Who knows? By the way, I'm on season 16 and I'm totally a newbie. I'm all for spoilers, so if you've got them, feel free to dish it out. Watching Mykelti's wedding again, and let's just say, my heart really goes out to her. It's hard to miss how everyone was practically throwing confetti for Maddie and Caleb. But then, when Mykelti enters the scene, it's like the entire mood shifts. So, Mykelti wants an outdoor wedding, and everyone's like, sure, you can use our garden. How generous. But wait, it gets better. Then they force her to move it to December. Seriously. I get it wasn't too long after Maddie's, but a late September wedding would've been the perfect compromise. Just a couple of months later, and the weather is still nice enough for an outdoor wedding. Then again, I'm from the UK, where late September can still work. But hey, maybe that's just me. It's so obvious Mykelti gets way too much unnecessary hate just for being herself and not bothering with the whole PC thing. But let's be real here, she got treated pretty badly when it came to her engagement and wedding planning. And let's not kid ourselves, if TLC wasn't footing the bill, Mykelti's wedding would have been another backyard, home-catered deal. Her parents? Absolute bums. Every time they tried to keep the wedding costs down, remember, TLC was paying Kody a flat fee per wedding filmed. So yeah, Kody's suggestion to have Mykelti's wedding in their yard, or his whole shaming of Aspen for picking a fancy venue, was all about keeping the TLC paycheck intact. Now, I don't think the whole situation was that awful. Sure, they were stressed after Maddie's wedding, but they hadn't even met Tony yet, maybe once or twice. So they felt like everything was rushed and asked Mykelti to wait 6 months, just so they could catch a break from all the wedding madness. Plus, they wanted to get to know Tony better. Christine was seriously shocked, too, because Mykelti never told her she was even dating someone seriously. Honestly, I spotted Mykelti's jealousy from a mile away. She wanted to be the center of attention, and wanted that wedding now. And let's talk about how different Mykelti and Maddie are. Mykelti had dropped out of college and wanted to go to fashion school in Seattle. She'd lived on her own in Utah for a year, and after deciding to go back to school or pursue her fashion dreams, bam, she meets Tony. They're engaged just 6 months after meeting. And don't forget, Mykelti was 19, a college dropout, and said she was giving up her dreams of fashion just to marry Tony. Oh, and Tony? No plan, no ambition. Maddie and Caleb, on the other hand, knew each other for almost 2 years before even starting to date. They dated for 1.5 years, lived together for almost a year, and had a solid year-long engagement before tying the knot. The real issue here wasn't about Mykelti's choice of Tony, even though there were definitely concerns about that. It was about the timeline. They wanted Mykelti and Tony to slow down and get to know each other better, plus give the family a chance to meet Tony. The big thing though, Mykelti wanted a huge, elaborate wedding in just 3 to 4 months, which was a total pipe dream. Sure, maybe a big wedding could be planned in that time, assuming a venue is free, but the family had already committed to helping with Maddie's. They were going to be spread so thin, both weddings might have turned into a disaster. Maddie had a year-long engagement, so it wasn't totally out of line to ask Mykelti to wait until the next summer. Now, I don't think Mykelti is always looking for attention, but it does seem like she has a knack for making decisions that put her in the spotlight. The family may have thought she was just trying to upstage Maddie, which is why they didn't take her wedding plans seriously at first. But in the end, they came around and made sure she had her special day, even if it wasn't exactly how she envisioned it. Robyn, always the picture of grace when it comes to sharing Kody's affection. If Robyn is really so devastated by the lack of sister wives, how do you think she'd react if Kody decided to take on a new one? Let's be real, it'd probably make the show a whole lot more interesting, wouldn't it? I almost posted about this when I was watching the Vegas episodes not too long ago. Remember when the producers asked the wives if they'd be open to adding another wife? Robyn shut that idea down faster than you can say first wife privilege. Janelle, on the other hand, was all for it. Cue Robyn's death stare. The producers cleverly cut the scene right when you could almost feel the tension radiating off Robyn, like she was about to go full meltdown. I was honestly sitting there thinking, hold up, I want to see this drama unfold. But of course, they left it hanging. Gotta keep that suspense alive for the viewers, right? But let's not kid ourselves. It's clear from Robyn's body language that she wasn't just opposed to the idea, she was fuming at the thought. And really, who can blame her? Robyn's clearly Kody's last and favorite, and she's not about to let some new wife waltz in and steal her spotlight. Honestly, I don't think Robyn would ever allow it, and if it did happen, oh, the drama. I think it would be really interesting to see how she reacts if a new wife entered the picture and she had to deal with jealousy for once. When Robyn came into the family, Kody made it painfully clear she was his top choice, and it's hard to imagine she ever truly understood what jealousy felt like. Look, I'm not exactly Robyn's biggest fan, but I don't hate her as much as some people do. At the end of the day, I think Kody is the one who deserves the most blame for playing favorites and damaging relationships with his own kids. He's an adult and can make his own decisions, but I also think he secretly enjoys it when Robyn takes the heat for the family's issues. That said, I'd definitely watch to see her reaction if Kody ever took a new wife. Now that would be some must-see TV. Does any part of this show pass the Bechdel test? You know, the one from Alison Bechdel, the cartoonist who pointed out how often women in fiction only talk about men. If two named female characters have a conversation that's not about a man, then it passes. Otherwise, it fails. Now, for as awful as Kody is, it seems like that's all his wives ever talk about. Even when they're trying to move on with their lives, they somehow always circle back to Kody. But technically, yes, there are a couple of moments where it almost passes. Robyn and Mary have a conversation about Mary going to school, and Janelle and Christine talk about real estate with Mona. These are conversations between two named women, and they're not about men or relationships, they're about business. So technically, that's a pass. But of course, there's a catch. The MSWC business is mentioned, and you could argue that the reference to Southwest is, in a roundabout way, a nod to Kody. so it's not exactly a clean win. Also, to be fair, the show doesn't exactly pass the reverse Bechdel test, which would require two named men talking about something other than women. And honestly, if you filmed most of our lives, I doubt our conversations would pass either. I'm an academic who's written about the Bechdel test, so I tend to see media through that lens. That's why I notice these things. It's a fun exercise, but let's be real. Just because something passes the Bechdel test doesn't mean women are actually playing an active role in the story. Plus, the test misses a lot of subtext. You can have feminist media that fails the test because it talks about sexism at the hands of men, and you can have super sexist media that passes because the girls talk about something else for 30 seconds. But hey, it's still a fun exercise, especially when you're doing it with the sister wives. Who's still in Flagstaff? I couldn't find any updates from the past year, so does anyone actually know who's still there? From what I've gathered, it seems like Robyn and her kids, along with Kody, are the only ones still holding down the fort in Flagstaff. Janelle, on the other hand, has obviously packed up and moved to North Carolina, and I think Savannah went with her. As for Gabe, I heard he's living it up in Vegas now. And Gwen? Well, she probably moved after getting married, right? So it looks like Gwen's the only one left in Flagstaff now. Gabe's definitely off to Vegas. Watching Sister Wives from the start, I'm finally diving deep into all the family drama, and let me tell you, it's been quite a ride. I'm currently on Season 7, Episode 8, which was pretty much just a group therapy session masquerading as a family video night. The adults sit outside watching old clips, reminiscing about who came in when and who did what. It feels like a weird, awkward recap of the years. But whatever, I guess that's what you do when you're trying to fill airtime. At the end of the episode, the adults start talking about working on their relationships, and out of nowhere, Mary and Christine joke. When we work on our relationship, we'll go on a cruise. And Kody, with his usual flair for awkwardness, chimes in with, "The real cruise should be when you and Janelle work on your relationship." Everyone laughs, but you can tell Janelle's face says it all. It's clear there's some unresolved tension between Janelle and Mary, but what exactly went down between them? We don't see them interact much on camera, and when we do, it's not like they're throwing shade at each other. They're not exactly fighting, but there's something unsaid hanging between them. Now, if we rewind a bit to some earlier episodes, there's a mention of Mary apologizing to another wife. I think it was Christine, but it could have been Janelle, for being abusive in the early days of their marriages. So could all this awkwardness be rooted in old resentments? Well, buckle up, because Mary was pretty malicious toward Janelle when she first joined the family. At the start of their marriage, Mary would go out of her way to flaunt her relationship with Kody in front of Janelle. She was cruel, made snide remarks, and basically made it impossible for Janelle to feel comfortable sharing a home with her. According to Janelle's book, she was forced to create her own little bubble, a bedroom, and a lot of time at Wynn's Ranch just to escape the tension. Kody, ever the traveler, was hardly around, and Mary, not wanting to miss any time with him, would skip work to travel with him, essentially cutting into the family's finances. And get this, she used Janelle's money to do it. Eventually, Janelle had to open a separate bank account to keep things from getting even more complicated. The real kicker here, Mary was jealous of Janelle's relationship with Kody. But instead of dealing with Kody directly, she took all that frustration out on Janelle. Not exactly a healthy way to navigate a plural marriage, huh? Oh, and let's not forget the juicy backstory. Janelle was once married to Mary's brother, but that marriage lasted less than a year. Talk about complicated family dynamics. So when Kody and Janelle eventually get together, they wanted to get married on Mary's birthday. Thankfully, Kody's mom stepped in and suggested they marry the day after instead. Good call, honestly. That probably saved them from an even bigger family drama explosion. As for the early days of their marriage, well, things were tense. Mary was a clean freak, and Janelle was laid back, which didn't mix well. But of course, putting your sister-in-law in the role of your sister wife is a recipe for conflict no matter how chill you are. Things didn't get any smoother once they all moved in together. Janelle and Kody started having flirty lunches behind Mary's back under the guise of career advice. And then Janelle, ever the dramatic one, claims that God told her she was meant to be in the family. I mean, who can argue with that logic, right? But the real issues? Janelle wasn't about to engage in the domestic drama. Instead of working things out, she'd retreat to her room and tell Kody, handle it. For someone like Janelle, who's avoidant by nature, having those women's issues thrown at her felt a lot more aggressive than anyone realized. But here's the thing. The show has often framed all their problems as typical women's issues, when the real issue was the entire family structure was flawed from the start. There's a lot more going on beneath the surface, and honestly, the drama surrounding Mary and Janelle is just one piece of a much bigger, tangled puzzle. Did Robyn get a release from the church for her first marriage? Honestly, I always figured she followed the same logic she used with Christine. You're married until you sleep with someone else. This whole idea that you're magically divorced just because you've been with someone else is laughable. Is this some kind of doctrine they cooked up to make things more complicated? But according to Robyn, her purity was stolen. Well, if we're buying her version of events, that sounds like a pretty good reason for a release, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to wash their hands of a marriage where your purity is taken away? Now, let's talk about her charming little speech to the kids in someone's living room. Definitely a hit at Dayton's self-esteem. Was he even in the room when she dropped that bomb for Kody's benefit? Ouch. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and much love to you all.